Hello and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host Owen. Guys, thank you so much for all your support, all your subs, views over the last few days. Guys, channel is doing so well and we are up to and over that 400 sub mark now on 421 subs last time I checked, on the mission to get to 500 very soon. And then obviously we have Victoria and I have set a target of the glorious 12th, the 12th of July, to hit that 1,000 subs mark. That is our target. 1k subs by the 12th of July, guys. So if you are watching this video and you have not yet subbed, please hit the sub for daily Rangers content. Well, I think we all know that this season is kind of coming to a close, and obviously Michael Beale and the Rangers squad will be looking, I think, to retain their Scottish Cup, and that be some element of success for the team for this season. Realistically, even if we were to win which we hope to win, at the last two firm games, cut their lead to 3 points, them losing another game and perhaps drawing a game, dropping 4 points, dropping 5 points is unrealistic, I think, at this moment in time. Why? Because I think the Scottish League, outside of Rangers and Celtic, is very, very weak indeed. Hearts and Hibs, who are the next closest challengers to the Old Firm, are poor, very, very poor this season. Hearts, who are in third, are some 20 odd points behind Rangers and are really struggling. So there isn't just the quality in the league at this moment in time. The league is very much coming down to a direct battle, between the Old Firm, and who wins the Old Firm games is who wins the league. And because obviously we haven't been successful this season in the Old Firm games, that's why they are so far ahead, and obviously dropped silly points with silly draws in Gio's time. So I think obviously some element of success there has to be, winning that Scottish Cup and also winning those last two Old Firm games in the league and really laying down a marker ready for the new season. Obviously, there's been other elements of success for Michael Beale and for Ross Wilson, the controversial character Ross Wilson. And I know that the Union Bears don't like Ross Wilson, and there's a large amount of the fan base who don't respect or like Ross Wilson, and think that some of his signings have been pretty shocking in terms of, like the Aaron Ramsey deal, the Rabbi Matondo deal, for example. But, in terms of good movements, positive movement forward as we plan for next season, you've got to look at this at the January transfer window, which was Michael Beale's transfer window. And as Michael Beale said, that he has passed a list of 4 or 5 names to Ross Wilson to go after and try and sign for Rangers this coming summer. I mean, obviously, in January, he signed Todd Cantwell from Norwich, who has been an absolute quality player for Rangers and really does look an absolute class act in this team. Very positive going forward, good passing skills, great range of passing, battling, aggressive player, creates opportunities for others, a real quality signing. And if this is kind of a signal as to the type of players that Beale can identify and Beale can bring in, all good. I mean, if you add into that as well, obviously the signing of Nicholas Raskin, who has been absolute, again, quality midfielder. The thing I love about Nicholas Raskin is he's very much unlike Kamara and Lundstrom, who are very much crabs when they play football. Raskin is very positive. Again, it's always forward, run forward, pass forward, move the ball forward, get forward. Win the ball. Where's my next ball? It's going to be forward to someone, in an attacking position, like Cantwell, like Kent, like Fashion. So very positive January transfer window, bringing in those two guys. So we've obviously got to look at it at that positive aspect, that that they are two great signings, two very good signings, who I think will go on to have great success with Glasgow Rangers. And that is down to Michael Beale identifying them. Beale obviously has a good eye for a footballer. It's like he said, in that press conference that he gave not long ago, where he said, you don't have to pay the earth to get a good footballer. Neither Cantwell or Raskin cost a king's ransom, and I think both of them will obviously accrue a great deal of value throughout their time at Rangers, if it was a case that we did want to sell them on eventually. Now, if you look at the current squad that we have, it's a squad I think that is in need of an overhaul. There's a lot of Stephen Gerrard's players there. There's a lot of Gio's players there. You've got to really give the opportunity there to Michael Beale to kind of revamp this squad and change this squad around and make it in his own image. And he needs to be given, I think, this window coming, the summer window, and again a transfer window in January, I think, to really make this team in his own image. Make no mistake, we are unfortunately far at the moment behind. Not as far behind as we were, but we are behind that green and white shower from across the city. We do need to invest, and we do need to revamp this team. You look at some of the names on that squad list, and that I think there is a number of names on there that you would see as been possible players to move on and leave, whether it be through natural wastage with contracts not being renewed, or whether it be through through actually selling them on. Obviously, I think a lot depends on how big an overhaul Rangers want to have this summer and how much money the board are prepared to release for that overhaul. And also what faith they have in those young players that are on that team list as well. I mean, if you look down that list, I think if you quickly whiz over that squad for a moment, Alan McGregor, I think it's time for him to retire. He has been a fantastic servant for the club, probably the best goalkeeper in the club's history. Obviously, people who may argue with the likes of Andy Gorham, Chris Wood, Stefan Kloss, for example. Rangers have had some amazing goalkeepers, haven't they? And McGregor is one of them. But I think, his age, he has looked his age at times this season, and I think it may be time for him to move on, as much as that Rangers stalwart as he is. Tav, I think, is here to stay. And again, Tav is someone who divides opinion. Personally, I'm a fan of Tav. What he brings to the club, 98 goals from right back is just phenomenal. Ridvan, I think, will stay and needs to stay. I think Ridvan, again, is going to be a very positive player for Rangers going forward. Lundstrom, I think it's time we called a day on Lundstrom's career at Rangers. I don't think that he has ever really got back to how he was. For me, he looks dithersome on the ball. He looks sort of sideways passing, slows down the attack, doesn't provide that energy, and very much sort of echoing his Sheffield United career. He went there, had an outstanding first 6 months, and then was just awful for them. So I think it's time Lundstrom goes. We could sell him on, get a little bit of money for him. Helander, again, I think it's time for Philip to leave. I'm a big fan of his. I thought he was outstanding, but unfortunately, all those injuries, I think, have caught up on him. Connor Goldson, fantastic defender, needs to stay. Yanis Hadji, fantastically skillful player, needs to stay. Ryan Jack, despite his fitness concerns, is someone who is vital to this squad, in my opinion. And he allows Tav to go forward. He covers when Tav's for Tav. He helps that midfield. And you just look around the midfielders, Raskin, Cantwell, Tillman, they all look a lot better and a lot more confident when they know they have Ryan Jack behind them. Tony Goals, Antonio Cholak is obviously going to be here next season, again a centre forward. I don't think he is the answer as the main number 9. Yes, he has scored goals. I get that, but I just don't think you want to be going into a season where he is your main focus of your attack. I think we do need something more, something better than Cholak. The likes of Pirot we've been linked with, Madja, Kristanovic. I think they are more realistic options as been at the top centre forward at the club. Steve Davis, I think it's time for him to retire. Tom Lawrence obviously will be a new signing when he comes back next season after his operation, and that'd be great to have him back. Todd Cantwell, obviously, is fantastic, as I've already said. Ryan Kent is the subject of apparently interest from AC Milan at this moment in time, which could well turn his head. But I do think that Kent is someone we do need to try and hang on to. Suter, I think, again, is someone to hang on to. Matondo and Kamara, I think it's time to move them on, to sell them. Matondo hasn't really pulled up any trees. He has not looked a good player. I think he's a very poor signing by Ross Wilson. So it's time I think we need to sell him on. Kamara, I think, again, he has come to the end of his useful time with Rangers. He's not looking the player he was. He's not looking great. He was very poor in that cup final. Time for him to go. Alfie is someone who massively divides opinion, and I think this is something that's going to run until the season's end to find out what happens with him. Scott Wright, I think it's time he was moved on, and I think that was already indicated by the club. They are looking to sell him. Namdi Offerbor, there's a whole story around him. Obviously, that's another podcast. Kamar Roof, Mr. Glass, I think we are going to still have Roof next season, because at the end of the day, who else is going to want him? He's injured all the time. Ben Davis, I think, stays. Is a fantastic defender, great left side of the centre back, great partnership with Goldson. The defence is starting to look really good now, so keep Ben Davis. Robbie McCrory, I think, is the future as a goalkeeper. Fashion, again, I know he divides opinion, but look at his goal contributions this season. Look at his goals, his assists. The numbers show you, that he is a good player. Borna Barisic stays. Kieran Wright, I think, will be allowed to leave. He's obviously out of contract. John McLaughlin, I would sell on as well. Again, someone who really isn't proving anything at the club, and I don't think he is getting older now. Realistically, if McCrory is going to be your number 2 and Rangers go out and sign a goalkeeper, which I think they need to do, Butland or Woodman or Angus Gunn have been linked. I think Butland and Woodman probably more realistic targets than Angus Gunn. The fact that Angus Gunn has now played international football and is with Norwich, who are aspiring to get in the Premier League, that I think is going to cost too much money to spend on a goalkeeper. Arfield, I'd give him another year contract. Leon King, again, a young player, has a future. Raskin has a future. Devine and Lowry, I would love to see given an opportunity to play for the club. Give them some minutes, as we come towards the end of this season. If the title is really gone, then give them the opportunity to play, give them some minutes. Let's see what they've got. Although I think Lowry is currently injured, and as is Malik Tillman, is someone obviously who I think the club will spend the money on and bring to the club, given how highly he is rated by Michael Beale and the rest of the coaching staff. But one thing is really for sure for me, Rangers fans, and that is that this summer is going to be a huge summer for Glasgow Rangers. Michael Beale's already indicated there's 5 players he wants to bring in, but he said there is no set number. And he wants to get them in nice and early to sort of to establish them ready for the new season, get them in before pre-season. And I think that is the way to go. That's how the green and white shower have done it. That's kind of made them a little bit more prepared for the start of the season than we have been at times. And I think that's great practice. And I think Michael Beale will do that. And I think he'll put pressure on Ross Wilson to do that as well. So it's certainly going to be a massive summer coming up, isn't it? And guys, I guess it's, we've still got all those games left to play. We've still got the semi-final to play. There's still a lot to play for this season, but we are, I think, already starting to think about next season, and that's good for the club. A long-term plan and a vision for the long term is what you need to see from the club, and that is what Michael Beale, I think, has brought in, and that is what Michael Beale is clearly wanting for this. That he wants to build something. He wants to build a team that is capable of challenging Celtic on the field and move this team forward. Well, Rangers fans, going back to that squad list, let me know who you would keep, who you would sell, and any players you'd like to bring in. Who, what positions do you think need to be addressed by the club? Anyway, thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. I've been your host, Owen. Guys, keep coming back to the Glasgow Rangers Nation. Keep checking out the daily content. The only way you can make sure you never miss out on the daily content is by smashing that sub and ringing that notification bell and giving the video a like, guys. It really does help out. Thanks for watching. I'll be back to speak to you really soon here on Glasgow Rangers Nation. Take care, guys. See you soon.